And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is the second match now of the 80% tournament coming at you. These guys are just setting up for their match. Thank you for joining us at GSA. Today, for our match, we have Zinpars and swiftzeii facing off against each other. And joining me on commentary is Yo-Yo Swift. Yo-Yo, how you doing today?
Good, hello.
I'm very excited for this match. How about you?
Yeah, I'm pretty excited as well.
Very interesting to be seeing some 80% action here again on GSA. Joining us in the call at the moment, the two competitors. We'll start with swiftzeii. swiftzeii is a new competitor to GSA. This is their first match of the competition in the GSA speedrunning. So, swiftzeii, how do you feel about this upcoming match here?
I am a little nervous, I'm not gonna lie, but I do hope to do good though. This is like my third race ever. This is my first race on GSA.
Indeed. Probably done a couple races in the past, but this one being on the GSA platform is very cool to have you on board, and best of luck to you. And Zinpars. Zinpars is no stranger to GSA. He has participated in every tournament we've had so far and has actually placed first in the triple bingo tournament, so needs no introduction really. Zinpars, how are you doing today? How's it going?
Hello, I'm doing fine. Also a bit nervous still. Hoping I can still do well. I might get the PB today, so that would be exciting. Because I've done a couple of no resets in this past few weeks, so I'd get a good time soon.
And maybe it'll be this race that we see some magic happen. So that being said, best of luck to both of you guys. Yo-Yo, I suppose you have any questions for the competitors?
No, just good luck to the both of you, and we'll see you when you guys are done.
All right, you guys can queue up whenever you're ready. Leave the call, we will count you down and get you all situated. Vi.gg is sponsoring this tournament, as well as the Super Metroid and the Super Mario 64 70-star tournaments that you guys are witnessing on the GSA channel for the next month. Be sure to type in !bet to find out more information about that. This particular race, very interesting matchup. I'm looking at the current leaderboards for 80%, and it does look like the swiftzeii has a little bit of an edge, but like we said, or like Zinpars said, rather, he is due for a PB just about any day now. So it could be very interesting to see. I think that Zinpars is definitely a more versatile player. I think swiftzeii is more 80% forward, but anything could really happen here. So could be very exciting.
Yeah.
Now, Yo-Yo Swift, what is your 80% knowledge? I know that you have played a lot of bingo.
Yeah, like my main two things I do with Odyssey are bingo and 80%, and my PB in 80% is a 111 something.
Yep, gotcha.
So I'm very knowledgeable still.
Yes, you hit a certain point where, you know, the route is more or less ingrained in your memory and in your head. So that's always good to know. Zinpars and swiftzeii just heading out at the start here. Important thing to note here that Zinpars is actually on version 1.1, swiftzeii playing on 1.0. So swiftzeii has a little bit of an advantage here. He will be going for the first moon skip when we get to Cascade. Zinpars does not have that available to him, but he is allowing it for this race. Very noble sportsman, if you ask me. All right, Zinpars having a little bit of trouble with the spin pound out of the lever pull there, giving swiftzeii a little bit of an advantage as we head into this frog room. There's actually a way to do this room without the frog, but unfortunately cannot get very good jump height without him, so it actually is a little bit faster to do these little vector jumps that you see these guys doing here as they make their way up. Of course, no issues in this room at all. Now, Yo-Yo, I'm not sure if you have followed either of these runners very much, but do you have any predictions for this match?
I don't really know. Zinpars, I do know a little bit about him, but swiftzeii, I haven't really heard of him at all yet, so I don't really know.
Yeah, swiftzeii, potential sleeper in this competition. He does have a very prominent PB, 20th place on the overall leaderboards for Super Mario Odyssey's Legacy patch, earning percent. So that's a very commendable achievement for sure. Definitely placing ahead of Zinpars as far as the leaderboard is concerned, but you know, anything can happen. Zinpars, a very good player, hasn't played a lot of any percent lately and could just be overdue for a PB as well. So we will have to see.
Yeah. So they're both entering Cascade Kingdom now. Looks like swiftzeii is a little bit ahead.
Yeah, just a slight lead over Zinpars. Zinpars, just a little bit of spaghetti coming out of the beginning portion of Cat Kingdom there. So here we go, see swiftzeii jumping across the water in order to set up the water version of FMS, taking the wall jump method, a very, very safe approach, but he gets through with no problems. Zinpars, of course, not having that available to him, has to get this first moon. The difference in time between these two things is approximately 32 seconds. So swiftzeii will have an immediate advantage, but Zinpars is playing on a digital version of the game, which allows him to make up some time in loads. So for those reasons, the players have decided to allow all the tricks in order to balance things out a little bit.
Yeah.
Now, an interesting thing that I would like to note is that Zinpars was going for some late clip practice. I'm not sure if you noticed.
Yeah.
Now, the late clip, of course, being a interesting addition to the any percent route as of late. Still a little bit on the back burner of a lot of any percent runners' minds, but done optimally can save in the ballpark of about 4 to 5 seconds. Obviously, a good strategy to go for, but still a very risky one. It does revolve around switching up the Lake Kingdom and the moons that you get completely. But Zinpars has been shown to do this in competition in the past with relative success. So we might actually see that here.
Yeah. So Zinpars just finishing up the fight. And it's going to be looking like swiftzeii is going to be ahead for a while because, like we said, he did do FMS, but Zinpars cannot do first moon skip.
Correct. So he will have a definitive lead coming out of this initial portion. But one interesting thing to note about 1.1 is that, unlike 1.2, the other exclusive tricks are still available. So Sphinx Clip and Turnip Clip, those are things you can still do in 1.1. They're only patched in 1.2. So even though the FMS is going to put him behind, he still will have access to those other tricks and will not lose any more time as a result. So basically, Zinpars is playing to catch up a little bit, but you know, anything can happen. It's still very early in the match.
Definitely.
Really not a huge difference between these guys. Again, probably about 30 seconds with the difference in between FMS and not going for it, getting the first moon. So they're both heading out of Cascade Kingdom now. And into Sand. And, you know, Sand is, I think, one of the harder kingdoms when people were initially learning how to do it. It's kind of been put on the back burner, as far as I know. Everybody kind of just glazes over it, but it does have a handful of tricks that still make it a little bit intimidating to go for.
Yeah.
Right, we see swiftzeii coming up on this above the town moon, and then going into the pipe underneath. All relatively simple movement up until we reach the Dram strat. Now, Yo-Yo, what is the Dram exactly?
So Dram stat is basically you're going to throw will do an up throw and hold Cappy below a bullet bill and grab the... I forget what the moon... What is the moon called?
The moon in the alcove. Alcove in the ruins.
Yeah. And you're gonna get that moon and basically home in on the bullet bill so you don't have to climb up on the ice, and that can save a bit of time.
Yes, the idea here is that we're using Cappy in kind of a creative way. We are throwing the cap up into the air and stalling him there while we do some other stuff, and then after grabbing the moon, we return to Cappy in order to eliminate the time it takes to get up. Now we're seeing swiftzeii going for it right here, setting it up. I think the platform might have gotten in the way. Unfortunately, it did, so he's going to have to climb up this slower way. This loses a couple of seconds, but not a big deal. Still got some ground on Zinpars. We'll see if Zinpars can maybe make up that time.
Yeah. It can definitely be hard sometimes.
Yeah, it's not always the easiest trick to go for. We see Zinpars here getting up on top of that wall, looking to set up the trick here. It looks pretty clean. And he's got it. The capture warp is there. So now he's going to be taking the bullet bill over to the pillar. This will save him about 4 seconds over swiftzeii. Every little thing is going to matter. And swiftzeii is approaching the pyramid clip now. Or sorry, the Sphinx clip now. Which is one of the other kind of difficult tricks in the run. We see him taking a couple approaches at it here.
Failing it a couple of times.
Yeah, it looks like he's having a lot of difficulty. Finally gets through the wall. He is opting to go for the single clip variation, which is essentially just looking to clip one time, go and grab the moon off to the side, and then come into the room afterwards. And Zinpars is actually getting it on the first try.
So Zinpars ready is saving some time in this kingdom.
Amazing. Perhaps first race nerves getting a little bit to swiftzeii, or perhaps just execution on the clip. Very difficult to do, but regardless, Zinpars is catching up, already making the time lost for the FMS trick. So, you know, already making this a very close race.
So now we are coming up on GSA Ruin Skip, which basically you're going to go out of the bullet bill, wall jump, and basically skip the whole underground ice area to get on top of the area with GSA on it.
That's right. And there's a particular portion of the wall that makes this trick a little bit easier. If you hit anywhere else on the wall, sometimes you do not get the height required in order to make the trick work, and you can fall into the poison and to your death immediately. But both of these runners not showing any troubles with that particular trick this time, making their way over to this oasis where there are a couple more extra moons hiding before they move on. Zinpars getting this cactus moon, proving to be a little bit difficult, taking a little bit of damage on the cactus, just not ground pounding in quite the right spot. So he's going to lose a little bit of time, but again, made up a lot of ground in the Sand Kingdom on swiftzeii so far.
Yeah.
All right. Now, grabbing that Notes Moon. The Notes Moon is the signal that we can leave the Sand Kingdom and be rolling back to the Odyssey, throwing your cap on the globe and getting out of here. So swiftzeii still looking like he's got a pretty definitive lead, about 15 to 20 seconds. But again, with those digital loads, that is naturally going to close a little bit as long as both of these runners play clean. So we will see just how close this gets towards the middle of the run.
So both runners now leaving Sand and heading into the Lake Kingdom, and we're gonna see if Zinpars is gonna be doing Lake Clip maybe.
Yes, we are approaching the Lake Kingdom now. We are approaching the Lake Kingdom now, which of course is one of the easier kingdoms, I would say, in the run. But with the way that it is being done by the 80% runners nowadays, is slightly more interesting and a little bit more intricate. And again, not something that a lot of 80% runners are going for just yet, but Zinpars we did see him practice it, so it's very possible that we could see something like that happen this time. So swiftzeii is going to be the first one approaching the zipper. Probably won't see anything crazy from him. Going to be opening up this chasm and then dropping directly below. We will have to see what Zinpars does here. Yeah, so say diving into the water. No leg clip ideas. That's obviously the safe way to do it. We are looking at a save of about 5 seconds if done optimally. Still very hard to do optimally, so it doesn't always save the most time, especially in a race setting. So
Yeah.
Zinpars setting it up.
He's going for it.
All right, he's got the clip. Oh, he's hit his head. He's got to set it up again. He's got the roll and he's got the clip, but he missed the cap bounce and he's falling down into the water. That means he's just going to have to kind of change his plans. He's going to have to go back to the regular route. Unfortunately, all that setup is going to lose him a pretty significant chunk of time, and he's going to be quite a bit behind. Probably all the time that was saved in sand is unfortunately lost now.
Yeah. It is pretty risky, but he did wanted to go for that. So a little bit unfortunate, but he can definitely still make up some time in other kingdoms.
Yes, this is still very early in the match. There's still plenty of time to be made up here. Zinpars unfortunately just taking a gamble and losing this time, but there are some definite areas of catch-up time available to him throughout the route. Especially going into Wooded. Wooded is arguably one of the harder kingdoms in the route. Lots of very costly tricks if you miss them. So we'll have to see just what happens here.
So yeah, swiftzeii now leaving Lake Kingdom and heading off to Wooded. Zinpars just finishing the fight.
Yeah, and it appears the gap has widened again slightly, but anybody's race still at this early stage. All right, and as they set off, we're going to be seeing quite a few very interesting tricks in the Wooded Kingdom. The first one, of course, being the nut clip. This trick was discovered a couple months ago, and when it was discovered, it kind of revolutionized the entire way that we do Wooded Kingdom. The new route saves about 25 seconds. I suppose not really new anymore, but about 25 seconds over the way we used to do it, and originally skipped a sub-area that we've put back in. Has changed the route quite a bit. The thing with Wooded is it's a very vertical kingdom. It's got lots of different like caverns and pathways in it, many different ways to go about routing this kingdom, and it's very possible that we still haven't even found the fastest way to do it.
Yeah. So swiftzeii now coming up to the Nut Moon where we're going to be clipping out of bounds.
Yes, this requires a little bit of a setup. We're going to see him get up here, stand under the nut in a certain way. It looks like his timing is good, and he's through the wall. So now we can initiate the rest of this movement, which of course this is only the beginning. He's gonna have to grab this moon. A little bit risky, but he makes it look easy. And now he's got to get out of bounds without falling into the deep woods. But look at where he's going. Oh, but he made the save. So he's in the river portion here. He got the rock wall moon, but unfortunately he is going to have to climb all the way back up. But
Definitely losing some time, but yeah, that out of bounds movement is definitely pretty tricky.
it's very tricky, and when it comes to things like the deep woods, you could be losing a lot of time missing up a trick like this, but coming up with the backup extremely well. He's already back up the rock wall. He's already got the seed. We see Zinpars lining up for the nut clip now.
Should be good, definitely.
Looks solid as well, yes.
So let's hope Zinpars is not going to mess this up, and maybe he could also save some time, but he is messing up this cap throw a bit.
getting into the little nook in the wall. Oh, just missing the jump there. Gonna have to reset up. This is a very scary portion. Of course, a lot can go wrong here. You can lose a lot of time if things don't go your way. Missing the jump again, having to set up again. Luckily not falling down. Falling down would be the biggest time loss, as you would have to go about doing the old route once again.
Zinpars really having some trouble with his out of bounds movement.
Alright, going for the setup once more. Okay, and he's got the moon now.
Can he make it up though?
Okay, cat bounce looks good, yes, and he's up into the inbounds portion of the game again. Definitely a big chunk of time lost, unfortunately, there, but at least he's safe. Also, the ramp giving him a little bit of trouble again. A lot of this particular portion of the game, this out-of-bounds movement and all of this new routing in Wooded has really caused some problems for a lot of people, so definitely don't blame him for the trouble he's having here. Meanwhile, swiftzeii has finished getting the story moon from the piranha plant and is on his way into the tower.
So Zinpars is definitely losing quite a lot of time from that. He did mess up that quite a lot. But it's still very early in the game and anything can happen.
That is incredibly true. Yeah, the time difference between them is rather substantial now. He still has to go through this red maze, go around the corner to break open another nut, and then come back to get the story moon, and then go in the tower. So we've got probably about a minute, maybe even a minute and a half of separation between these guys now currently. Oh no! Zinpars going for the setup for the roll cancel out of the red maze and falling into the deep woods. This is tragic. This is definitely not what he wanted to do.
Definitely having a bad Wooded Kingdom. And it looks like he's kind of going for a backup as well.
All right, so what Zinpars is doing, you know, bingo on the fly routing knowledge coming into play here. Very smart move by Zinpars. Instead of continuing along the route after getting out of the deep woods, he is instead opting to get some fast moons within the deep woods. Very smart decision, I think. In order to get out of Wooded faster, this is probably the good way to go. There are several moons in here that can be relatively quick to grab. Of course, just falling in requires falling in and then getting out, which is not fast at all. So being in here is not ideal, but you can see that Zinpars is making the most of this situation.
Definitely still going to be losing some time. Meanwhile, swiftzeii is now leaving Wooded Kingdom. So yeah, Zinpars definitely lost a lot of time in Wooded Kingdom with Moon Clip and falling in the deep woods.
Yeah, it is a shame. So he's going to be planting the seed. This is just for access to the kingdom. Interestingly enough, he broke the rock containing a ground pound moon, but then didn't end up activating the ground pound to get the moon. Maybe he's got some sort of plan in mind in order to continue this kingdom. Appearing in the pipeway now. He's going to be going down in here, grabbing some quick moons, and now it's basically improvisation. This is all down to his expertise of the game. He's going on the fly. There is no real plan to what he's doing at the moment. He's just got to get as many moons as he can and then get out.
Yeah. Meanwhile, swiftzeii now in Cloud Kingdom and starting off the Bowser fight. Missed that first tap the bow.
Unfortunately, but not a horrible setup. Doesn't take very long to get things situated here. Now, Zinpars taking an approach that is akin to the older wooded route that we used to have before Nut Clipper was discovered, doing this climb up the tower. He's already got the nut in the red maze, so he's going to be jumping across here. Probably grabbing the story moon, maybe the nut around the corner, and then going into the tower, I would have to guess. Or maybe skipping the story moon entirely and just grabbing everything along the way and warping to the Odyssey.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, because the story moon is pretty slow.
swiftzeii, meanwhile, we do see that he has made it out of Cloud, finished the Bowser fight, taken no real problem with it at all. Oh wow, Zinpars going for a very crazy setup here, looking to do a vault off of the cap and then across the way, using this platform to set up. Very interesting way to do this kind of Flower Road skip without the story moon.
Yeah. But
Very
he does.
ingenious tech.
Yeah.
Something that doesn't come into use very often just because, because usually you do get the story moon. So very interesting way that, Zinpars is a very creative player. I don't think I can stress that enough. He's like very, very knowledgeable about the game and can come up with these kinds of things on the fly.
Yeah. So swiftzeii making some good progress in Lost Kingdom.
Yeah, Lost Kingdom, a very scary kingdom to be in. Any mistake here usually costs you somewhere in the ballpark of like 20 seconds.
Yeah.
Due to this instant kill poison that exists all around the place. So you either Lost Kingdom goes really well or it goes really badly. There's usually no in between. So far, having a good Lost Kingdom.
Zinpars is now leaving Wooded, and
Yes.
heading to Cloud Kingdom to fight Bowser. Well, swiftzeii almost about to leave Lost, just needs 2 more moons.
Yes, that is right. And grabbing the Cage Moon, and then we'll be taking a risky little dive underneath the bridge here. Maybe he'll get Cappy back in time to get up. No, gonna take the Death Warp, that's okay. Sends you back to the Odyssey, loses you about 2 to 3 seconds, but in the overall scheme of things, the safe thing to do. And as Zinpars is approaching Cloud Kingdom, we see swiftzeii is leaving Lost. So we still, between these guys, there is a considerable chunk of time now. Unfortunately, Zinpars taking a detour in Wooded Kingdom, costing him minutes worth of time.
Yeah, falling into the deep woods, definitely bad, while also he just dies.
Unfortunately, taking a hit on the Cloud platform, not setting it up quite the way he wanted, and going to be dying at the beginning of this kingdom before the fight even begins. All these time saves, or time losses rather, adding up to something very catastrophic for Zinpars so far. swiftzeii, meanwhile, now approaching Metro Kingdom, one of the bigger kingdoms in the route. And when we get to the day portion especially, there are some very tricky strategies that will come into play here. And Zinpars making quick work of Bowser in Cloud Kingdom, initiating this final phase, getting the hat handily, and he's going to be punching Bowser and then leaving Cloud Kingdom. Now, Swift approaching this City Hall portion of the game. As a beginner, this part is especially scary because it is all one screen, all one phase. If you fall down, you go back to the bottom, or you potentially die and have to do this entire climb all over again, costing you anywhere between like 20 and 30 seconds per mistake. So, of course, most pro players have this room kind of figured out by now, but we have seen some mistakes like this in the past, especially in GSA tournaments. So we'll have to see if swiftzeii lands this long jump across onto a cap dive and onto the platform, and he's across just fine. Approaching this Mecha Wiggler fight, which is probably my least favorite boss in the game. I don't know if you agree.
Yeah. Definitely could be an annoying boss sometimes.
Yeah, mostly due to the hitboxes that are associated with it. Sometimes they just do not work the way that you want them to.
Yeah, sometimes you're hit one of the parts and it just doesn't work.
Yeah, it doesn't activate. Some of the other hitboxes get in the way. Makes for a very annoying boss mechanic. Especially the second phase, when you factor in the fact that the pattern he appears in is always random. There are a couple of common patterns that I think I've seen in the past, but the one you get is determined by RNG, so we'll have to see if swiftzeii gets lucky here with an easy Wiggler pattern. Already making some crossovers at the beginning, but coming out of the crossover just fine. He's going to be landing all of his shots very nicely here.
Very nice cycle.
Finishing it off very quickly. Zinpars opting for some safer strats in Lost Kingdom, grabbing the second last moon in the stone cage rather than in the gold cage. One of the older, more kind of reliable methods of doing Lost without dying. He's going to be grabbing the one under the bridge, making a recovery, and he is out of Lost Kingdom now. So we are officially one night metro portion apart from one another, looking at about 3.5 minutes.
Yeah. So Zinpars really has to make up some time in these later kingdoms if he wants to get ahead.
Yeah, he might have to hope for a little bit of a miracle. We might have to see swiftzeii perhaps make a couple of mistakes in order for Zinpars to have a solid chance. Zinpars, of course, has to play very solid, maybe has to take some risky maneuvers in order to make some sort of comeback here.
Yeah.
Now, just a reminder for everybody that GG is sponsoring the event as well as the Super Metroid and the Super Mario 64 70 star tournaments. Type !bet in order to get some more information on that, and in part also support the competitors in a different way, in a very fun way that kind of involves you as the viewer, and I think a very interesting concept for the speed gaming community as a whole. Now, entering the day portion of Metro, swiftzeii, I think he got the scoop clip with very minimal troubles. He's going to be making his way through here. Alright, and Zinpars now approaching the City Hall section as well. Again, one that people have kind of figured out at this point in time. Always a risky part, though, just in case you miss a jump.
Yeah, that long jump at the end, definitely very scary when you start off.
Yeah, making it now. Cat throw into a cat bounce and dive across. He is safe this time. swiftzeii collecting musicians here. These two musicians, the drummer and the bassist, not the fastest moons in the game, in my opinion, but still somehow barely make the cut.
Yeah.
So he's going to be collecting those. Every time it sends you back to City Hall, which can kind of set you up for the next place you need to go. He's going to be taking a warp up to the top of City Hall in order to collect a couple of extra fast moons before he leaves.
And meanwhile, Zinpars is in the Mecha fight. Let's hope that he gets a 2-cycle.
Yeah, approaching that 2-cycle now. I believe that just about every pattern has the potential to be safe for a 2-cycle, but some patterns are trickier than others. This one, a little bit of a figure 8 pattern kind of going into the beginning and then spreading out towards the end. Having a little bit of trouble with the hitboxes at the end there, but able to finish off the Wiggler before he initiates the 3rd cycle. So he is going to be safe this time as well as he enters the Day Metro portion. swiftzeii, on the other hand, finishing up some of the quick moons at the end of Day Metro here. He's going to be entering a sub area and then warping back to the Odyssey.
Yeah. And we're about 30 minutes in. A little less than halfway done.
Yeah, a little less than half, that's for sure. Metro is kind of the halfway point.
Yeah.
But a lot of the kingdoms that follow this are rather tricky in nature, tend to be full of kind of risky opportunities and places where time can be saved, but time can definitely be lost in huge amounts as well. Zinpars setting up the capture warp strategy for the beginning of Metro there and just missing the cap throw. Gonna have to reset it up and getting it on the second try. Not a bad setup there.
So Zinpars now approaching scooter clip.
Gets it on the drive-by. Very nice.
Meanwhile, swiftzeii is now heading off to Snow Kingdom.
Yes, and the definitive kingdom for kind of a very risky strategy that is well known, which of course is what we call in the community snow dram, which is not really a dram by definition at all, but rather a very precise jump where the inputs really matter and your timing is very important. Something that we will see at the end of this kingdom. And that, you know, we have seen a lot from the snow dram strategy. It can make or break a race entirely.
Yeah, very risky. Definitely one of the harder skips in the game.
Yeah, most certainly. And especially risky because once you've kind of opted for the snow dram route, you are bound to it. There is no real quick backup for it at all unless you come back into Shiveria. So once you've dedicated yourself to it, you have no choice but to just go for it. And that could be sometimes the biggest time loss if you continuously mess it up. So all right. Zinpars around Metro, collecting moons. We see swiftzeii boosting around the corner here. He's going to be grabbing a couple extra fast moons inside of Shiveria here before entering these sub-areas. Now, these sub-areas do have story moons associated with them that are a little bit slow, but just because we're already in here gathering some of the faster moons that exist within these rooms, we might as well grab them. They also provide you a pipe that brings you right back to the start, so it's easy to get in between kingdoms. Or not in between kingdoms, but in between these sub-areas, I suppose you could say.
Yeah. There's not a whole lot of moons from the start of Snow Kingdom that you can actually get.
Exactly. World Peace opens up a lot more to the Snow Kingdom. But before Peace, there's not very much available, so these story moons will have to do. Zinpars is climbing up City Hall and actually taking an unfortunate ball on the pole on his way up to this shining on high moon, but making a recovery rather quickly. He only has 4 more moons before he has to leave Metro, and he will be joining swiftzeii in Snow Kingdom. Now, of course, the option in Snow Kingdom would be to achieve world peace and open up the moon pool a little bit, but in a category that wants you to get in and get out as fast as possible, doing world peace and doing the Bound Bowl is not a very fast idea, so you definitely will not see that in an 80% tournament.
So Zinpars is almost done at Metro, just has these last 2 moons in this sub-area left, and then he will be heading off to Snow as well.
Yes, that's right. And it looks like he will be arriving just in time to see swiftzeii at the Odyssey while he performs his snow dram technique. He has skipped the shop, which does signal to me that he is going to be making an attempt at this. We will have to see just how well he performs. Now, overall, the snow dram trick saves about 8 seconds over the previous route that was established. However, every miss is approximately 20 seconds of time loss, warping back to the Odyssey, setting up again, trying the trick again. So for every fail, you lose a very significant amount of time. So if Zinpars is going to be making up time on swiftzeii, this is going to be it. This is swiftzeii kind of time to lose.
So here he goes.
All right, we see the setup really quick.
And he makes it.
First try, makes it across. Makes the trick look really easy. Very difficult portion of that trick is that every input really does matter. The timing of everything is so precise, and if anything is a little bit off timing, either a little too early or a little too late, it will spell the end of that trick, and you will have to warp back up to the top and lose that 20 seconds. So swiftzeii making quick work of the Snow Kingdom, and he is on his way out now and on to Seaside.
Yeah, Seaside definitely being one of the easiest kingdoms.
Yes, there have been a couple of different strategies developed for Seaside lately that make it a little bit more technically advanced, but on the whole, a lot of it is just swimming around as a fish. Not very difficult, but very quick kingdom. Kind of gives you a break, you get this kind of, you've just done Metro, you've just done Snow, so now you're in Seaside and you get to have a little bit of a breather before you approach what is arguably the hardest kingdom in the whole run, and that is the Luncheon. So in Zinpars, we see he is taking the Parasol up to the top deck, which does signal to me that he will be going for Snowdram as well.
Yeah.
He did have a little bit of trouble getting into Shiveria at the beginning, but he has made it in, just losing precious seconds again. We are looking at a difference of about 3 minutes at this point, so Zinpars does really have his work cut out for him at this time. Oh no, and Zinpars is actually taking a dive. Looked like he was trying to set up some sort of quick strategy in order. Story Moon. Oh, and now he's going for this trick. He's using the Blowy Joey in order to get all the way across and into this portion. We saw him do this in the Triple Bingo finals, and he's actually using it to his advantage in any percent. Very smart play in order to avoid that entire section again.
Yeah. Also, though, swiftzeii did miss that Music Note Moon and had to go back. He definitely lost a bit of time there.
An unfortunate situation. It looked like he tried to go for the Rocket Flower refresh strategy, which saves a very minimal amount of time over just capturing this Gushen. But he did do a backup. He has got the Moon now, and he is on his way through. Just an unfortunate circumstance there.
Yeah, but as long as swiftzeii doesn't make a huge mistake, he should be fine, because he is much ahead of Zinpars.
Yes, there is indeed a lot of ground to be made up here. That being said, there are still many things that can go wrong, many things that could potentially cost any of these runners significant amounts of time, somewhere in like 20 seconds. So still, still a chance. I would say that Zinpars still has a chance here.
Yeah, definitely not over for him just yet.
Alright, now Zinpars is out of the sub-areas in Snow King. Going to be going into the shop here to grab Moon before he makes his way up to the Snowdram trick. And, fingers crossed, this could potentially, bring him back into this competition, give him a fighting chance, or it could be the end of him. So we'll have to see just how it goes here. swiftzeii, on the other hand, finishing up Seaside handily. He is putting his cap on the globe, and he is going to be on his way to Luncheon Kingdom now.
Zinpars
taking a bonk. Unfortunately, messing up the Snowdram trick there. That is going to cost, like we said, 20 seconds to get back to the Odyssey and set it up again. So we're going to have to hope that he makes it this time.
Yeah, it doesn't look that hard, but it is definitely very hard, and a lot of things matter. Zinpars
Yes.
is getting it on his second try. Definitely could be worse, but still losing around 20 seconds.
Yeah, an unfortunate circumstance, especially when you consider that swiftzeii did in fact get it on the first try. just increasing his lead even more so. Right, swiftzeii going for the salt pile triple at the beginning of lunch. Very tight jump as well, not quite as risky as Snowdram, but still very precise inputs. Makes it look rather easy. Now he's going to be making his way across the magma here and up to this this moon kind of hidden in a crater here, and then he's going to be making his way up to this boss fight. And this is just a rematch with Spewart. We actually don't fight Spewart anymore in the 80% route at all until we get to Luncheon. But, you know, these runners have definitely done Spewart enough to know what the strategy is for him here and making quick work of him.
Zinpars now off to Seaside, and for some reason he went into the pipe first.
Interesting, yes. I was about to make kind of a comment on that. Usually any percent will take the moon that's up on the high cliff first.
He might have just forgot.
Maybe getting into muscle memory of a different category, potentially. The option here, I think, is that he will get that moon after he warps out.
Yeah.
When he is finished up the kingdom, he will warp to the Odyssey and just grab that moon very last. You'll have to see.
Yeah, interesting though.
Zinpars also looked like he was trying to set up some sort of flower rocket ideas there, but not getting the ground pound off quite the way he wanted, so he's just going to have to be taking the Gushin instead. And we see swiftzeii making work of this Luncheon Kingdom portion here. This is probably one of the easier sections of the Luncheon Kingdom, just looking to kind of jaunt through town, get some quick moons, and then it's back over the magma swamp in order to get some more kind of treacherous moons as well, including the upcoming fork-flicking detour room, which can be very treacherous.
Zinpars is doing pretty good in Seaside though.
Yeah, making quick work. I haven't noticed any major mistakes. And yeah, we will probably see him do some sort of idea like that, where he's just going.
Zinpars is now moving back to the Odyssey, and looks like he's going to be getting that first moon at the end, which is very interesting.
Yeah, very potentially just forgot about it. Looking to set up the jump here. swiftzeii having a little bit of trouble making the jump back to the exit of the fork room, but not taking a death, not taking a fall, so no real issues there. Now making a couple of tricky jumps with the lava bubble up to this moon here, and he's going to be grabbing a turnip that is very conveniently growing on this cliff.
And yeah, we're going to be approaching turnip clip, which basically we're going to be clipping through the glass without actually hitting the lever by using the pan bro.
That is right. And this trick is exclusive to the legacy versions of the game, so that would be 1.0 and 1.2. Or, sorry, 1.1.
Yeah.
1.2 does not have it accessible to them. So they actually have to do this moon the intended way, which involves using those pan bros to break open some cheese rocks nearby to reveal a lever. And that lever opens up this cage. Now, Zinpars finally approaching the Luncheon Kingdom. He was invited a little bit late to the lunch party, but he is here now, getting the salt pile triple with no problems. We see Zinpars making some very fancy jumps in order to climb these mountains. This probably the very last, very tricky portion of this kingdom. Going to be making a couple of tricky jumps in order to get across these mountains and back up to the plateau. Does it very handily though, no problems there.
Yeah. And then swiftzeii, all he has to do is just get the multi-moon, and then he will be leaving Luncheon into Ruin.
Yes, and Ruin, kind of another break portion of the run.
Yeah.
But very well needed as we approach the Bowser's Kingdom, which can be another very scary portion.
Yeah, definitely. Zinpars just finishing off Spewer while swiftzeii is leaving, so Zinpars still definitely quite a bit behind. It's going to be pretty hard for him to catch up at this point.
Yeah, again, it's going to take a miracle. Zinpars is going to have to play to the best of his ability, and swiftzeii, basically Zinpars is hoping that swiftzeii is going to be making some sort of mistakes in order for him to catch up, but it is a little bit of a long shot at this point.
Yeah. We only have 3 kingdoms left. So, like we said, swiftzeii now heading off to Ruined to fight the dragon, which, once again, is kind of just a little bit of a break.
Yes. 3 kingdoms remaining. One of them is... That is, of course, the Rune Kingdom.
Yeah.
This boss fight doesn't really have any art. Doesn't really have anything unpredictable about him. So, more or less just waiting for it to be finished without dying, of course. Meanwhile, we see Zinpars grabbing this golden turnip, planting it in the soup pot in order to spawn another moon, just taking a quick jaunt through town in order to gather some fast moons in Luncheon. Making quick work. I don't think I've noticed any major mistakes with his Luncheon Kingdom so far, so doing his best as he can to make up the time that he's lost. But again, he does have his work cut out for him.
Yeah. He lost a lot of time in Wooded.
Yeah, Wooded was the killer there for sure. A little bit of kind of jitteriness perhaps on the Wooded out of bounds movement, followed by an unfortunate fall into the deep woods during the red maze portion. Cost him a lot of time. Yeah, Zinpar's making the Forks room look rather easy. Just got to make the jump across the way back into the regular area of the kingdom, and he will be approaching the turnip clip trick himself.
Meanwhile, swiftzeii just about to finish off the battle, and then he's going to be heading off to Bowser's Kingdom, which can be pretty difficult sometimes.
Now, I'm a big fan of Bowser's Kingdom because I enjoy the movement associated with it. I feel like it has really good pacing. The kingdom is made in a way that is kind of dynamic, and it's split into chunks. So you can kind of have a little bit of a break in between each very high intensity portion. Very risky, of course. There's lots of opportunity to fall off, but at the same time, you get a little bit of a breather before you have to kind of take on the next part. And I think that is kind of a cool element of the kingdom itself. Definitely a very good kind of prequel to the end portion of the game, which kind of brings everything to a close.
Yeah.
All right, now we see swiftzeii, of course, not having any troubles in Ruin Kingdom at all. Ruin Kingdom not causing any substantial problems. He's going to be going on his way to Bowser's Kingdom now.
Zinpars just grabbing some final few moons, and then he will be leaving Luncheon pretty soon.
Making that tricky jump across the mountains with no problem at all. Going to be capturing the fork and making his way up to the meat plateau before he is on his way to the Ruin Kingdom himself. Now, swiftzeii approaching this first chunk of Bowser's Kingdom requires a very specific jump in order to get up the wall. You have to time your jumps very carefully in order to make sure you don't bonk. Not having any troubles there. Now looking to set up a smash on the ogre's head here. And the first kind of chunk of the story in Bowser's is done. This is kind of what I mean by these little break sections here. You get a story moon. Usually you shoot out of a wire directly afterwards. And you get a bit of a breather in order to prepare yourself for the next part. And the next part of Bowser's Kingdom is the shards portion, which can be one of the most intimidating parts of the whole kingdom.
Yeah. Zinpars, though, he just left luncheon, so he's now going to Ruin to fight the dragon. But he is still about 3 minutes behind.
Yeah, it's a substantial chunk of time. At least he's doing what he can to make the most of it. Now, swiftzeii going to be doing the shards movement here. Oh, and actually falling down into the pit. Luckily, I think he grabbed the checkpoint, so he will be close by. Yes, he did grab the checkpoint, so at least he's in the area, going to be continuing the movement from there, but unfortunately costly mistake, probably losing himself for about 20 seconds there.
Yeah, like we said, shards can definitely be very difficult sometimes.
Yep, and the thing with Bowser's is falling off anywhere. The death zone is very low down, very, very far off the cliff, so in order to get there, it requires a giant fall. So not only are you taking a death, but you have to fall all the way down to it, and that can cost you a lot of time.
Yeah. But swiftzeii getting the next story moon.
Alright, he's going to be going for the Dram setup, what we call Bowser Dram, I suppose. He's looking to throw his hat, dive up here, grab the moon in time for Cappy to home in on the pylon nearby. Taking a couple tries and probably not saving himself an incredible amount of time doing the trick, but he did pull it off, and now he's going to be on his way to these brutal battles. We'll see which bunny he picks first. Opting for Harriet, a solid choice.
Yeah. Zinpars just finishing up the dragon, and then he will be heading off to Bowser's swiftzeii, finishing up the Harriet battle.
So it looks like swiftzeii is not opting for any Harriet strats, as they have come to be known, setting up the first person in order to hit the bombs back as fast as possible. Just playing it safe before he moves on to the top fight. This, I think, being the trickier of the two, the more likely you are to take damage in this one, I would say.
Yeah. Because you have to do a pretty precise jump that is coming up right now to make sure you hit that one before they all start going everywhere. Zinpars is now leaving ruined.
Yeah, finished with the dragon fight, making it look easy, of course, and now he's on his way to Buzzers. Just in time for swiftzeii to grab the story moon associated with this brutal fight. So again, we are looking at a difference of about 3.5 minutes. Zinpars definitely has his work cut out for him now. As we kind of tighten up towards the end, this is, of course, going to be even harder for Zinpars to make any time up. It's going to be more or less on swiftzeii to throw it, but swiftzeii is going to be trying his best to continue up this kind of consistency, continue playing solidly. Now, a very interesting little roll boost strat across the water there in order to continue his speed into grabbing this crate moon. Very solid looking strategy, and we actually see Zinpars is going for the alternative strategy. Instead of grabbing the crate moon later, he's going to be doing this little Pokio capture warp strategy, grabbing the moon, jumping back up the wall, and then continuing along his way. Now, both of these moons have been timed to be about the same. It's basically come down to personal preference which one you go for. So, you know, one runner choosing one over the other doesn't really make too much of a difference. It just comes down to comfort.
And swiftzeii about to be coming up to the Mecha Brutal.
Yep, and this Robo Brutal fight is another place that could potentially be very catastrophic if not done properly. The inputs are very tight, and of course, making sure you don't fall off, because falling off will cause a lot of problems.
Yeah.
swiftzeii doing this back flip strategy in order to climb up the leg, pulling it off very well, setting up for the Goryuya method of hitting topper, doing the spin pound as he lands on that little platform. Very solid execution. And we see Zinpars going for the shards, and he has a very incredibly unique strategy when it comes to gathering these shards, and maybe we will see him take care of it this way now. We're going to see him get on the roof. Oh, no, he actually didn't set it up. Oh, yes, he did. He did the down throw. He's rolling across, and you can see he actually grabbed that other shard just by rolling across the roof. That other shard usually requires you to kind of like do a little bit of a down throw or something along those lines, maybe like a throw back with your cap. But by doing that down throw strategy, Cappy actually just flies right by the shard as he makes his way to the final one. Very, very swaggy, pro-con only strategy there from Zinpars, showing off his creative ways of playing the game. In the meantime, swiftzeii has finished off the Robo Brood, did not fall off, did not make any mistakes. He will be on his way to the final kingdom of the game.
Yep. So there's not a lot of moments now where swiftzeii can really mess up. So it's not looking very good for Zinpars. But Zinpars now heading up to the brutal fights.
Yeah, the opportunity to catch up is dwindling by the second. swiftzeii only has one kingdom remaining to now, that being the Moon Kingdom. Things can still go wrong here. This is still a very scary kingdom to be in.
Zinpars did try to go for the first person strat, but did mess that up.
Looking to hit Harriet here. Not opting for any first-person strats for this hit. Just setting it up in a safe way. Now, swiftzeii is approaching the moon, like we said. This is a very scary kingdom as well. I kind of split it up into 3 chunks. There's the initial movement to the cathedral, there is the Bowser fight, and then there is the escape sequence. And the really scary part of Moon Kingdom specifically is that dying in any of those parts sends you to the beginning of it. So if he were to fail the Moon Cave skip, for example, and die, he would be sent back to the Odyssey. If he were to fail on the 3rd phase of the Bowser fight, he would have to do the entire thing again. If he were to die doing the 2D skip, he would have to do the entire escape sequence again. This is a very scary kingdom to be in, and probably the biggest time loss kingdom in the run, and they put it right at the end. So again, Zinpars is going to have to be hoping for a miracle, but if things go horribly wrong for swiftzeii in Moon, there is still a chance.
Yeah, but Zinpars is still pretty far behind, like we said, 3.5 minutes almost, so he is gonna have to hope that swiftzeii messes up quite a lot.
Yeah, it's going to take a little bit more than just some minor mistakes. We do see swiftzeii setting up for the Moon Cave skip here. Requires a couple precisely aimed wall jumps in order to make it across and up to the top. Skipping an entire cave sequence that a lot of speedrunners don't even ever see.
Yeah, it saves about like 5 minutes, I think.
Yeah, it's got to be somewhere in the ballpark of 4 to 5 minutes, and that's the thing, is you could go about messing up that trick for as long as 3 or 4 minutes and still be ahead if you manage to pull off the cave skip. So definitely a viable speedrun strategy.
Yeah, definitely like the biggest skip. Zinpars
Certainly.
heading into Mecha Brutal, while swiftzeii into the Bowser fight.
Yeah, so to say, approaching this final Bowser fight, very similar to the one in Cloud. The setups for hitting Bowser are more or less the same. The only difference being that he initiates this very scary looking fire sequence, but the hitbox for this fire is actually incredibly small and not very harmful at all.
Meanwhile, Zinpars is having some trouble.
It's an interesting climb situation going on here. I think he's opting to go for the birdless climb. I think he must have fallen off during the second phase, and now he has to make his way back up. Things just truly not really going Zinpars' way. It's truly unfortunate. You see Zinpars doing a little bit of ballet on top of Harriet there, I think, maybe signaling his frustration a little bit. Now, swiftzeii on the final phase of the Bowser fight, finishing up the punches, avoiding the tail swishes, and now he's on his way to the final portion, the escape sequence of the moon. This being probably the scariest last remaining section of the whole run.
Yeah. Zinpars, though, did manage to recover somewhat quickly to defeat Mega Boodle. It definitely could have been a lot worse.
Yeah, it could have definitely been worse, but at this point it is looking to be a little bit too little. It would take swiftzeii a couple of escape sequence failures in order for him to catch up at this point.
So, yeah, it's looking like a win for swiftzeii as long as he doesn't mess up like 10 times.
Yeah, it's looking like a pretty clean sweep for swiftzeii. Now he's approaching this 2D section. The infamous 2D skip. Makes the jump. Bonks his head, but actually saves himself. Gonna be breaking the brick in order to just continue about this the regular way. Very, very risky, but luckily didn't die, so he's going to be making his way through just a little bit slower, but still safe victory for him, it looks like.
Yeah, that was almost a death, but he did manage to barely not die there.
Yeah, usually it does not go that well for anybody who's their head trying to perform that trick. Usually that spells death for you, and you have to go back to the beginning of the escape sequence, but swiftzeii managing to save it, managing to pull it out. Zinpars, meanwhile, is finally done with Bowser's Kingdom. He's now on his way to the Moon Kingdom. Too little too late, though, I think.
Yeah. As swiftzeii is in this final section.
Yeah, he's going to go about breaking all of these pillars open. And he did, in fact, get the fast pillar break on the first try through, so this is the last pillar remaining to him. He's just going to shoot some fireballs in order to break the pillar and access this final block a little bit faster, and with that he is going to be finishing up this run with a time of sub 105, which is very commendable, especially in a race setting.
Yeah. A 104.51.
Very solid showing. And to be fair, thinking back on swiftzeii performance, there were only a couple of points that kind of maybe were a little bit of hang-ups. Like, I can think of maybe Sandram not working quite the way that he wanted to. But aside from things like that, you know, he kept it together and he kept it consistent. And there were very few problems with his race. So definitely the better performer coming into this and just finishing out on top. So we see Zinpars now is approaching the Moon Cave skip, taking the jumps, a little bit risky, but making it up, it's fine. Now he's going to be approaching the Bowser fight. Now, an important thing to note here is Zinpars is not done. He is not down and out. This is a double elimination tournament, so even though Zinpars is eliminated in the first round, he will be moving to the loser's bracket, which will allow him to maybe still have a fighting chance in this tournament, but another loss will cause him to be eliminated. So as we finish up here, we're just going to remind you guys that we are having this tournament sponsored, as well as the Super Metroid and the Super Mario 64 70-star tournament, sponsored by Vi.gg, where you can be placing bets on these competitors. Very exciting stuff. You can type !bet to learn more information and go to their site. So definitely some exciting stuff. I've been thinking about doing that kind of thing for my for as we get closer to the finals, especially.
Yeah. Zinpars, though, he did have a bit of trouble with the Bowser fight. But he's doing okay right now, and then looking like he's going to be finishing with probably around a 109, 110.
Yep. It's about 2 minutes. If you play the escape optimally, it's about 2 minutes from at the end of this fight, so we are looking at about a 109, currently maybe like a low 110. But this is the final phase, so he is going to be finishing up this fight, hopefully without taking damage. Okay, we're good. We're safe for now.
Hopefully he doesn't get hit.
Is remembering to avoid the tail, and you're going to be skipping the cutscene here, so now he is on his way. And capturing Bowser now. We can only hope that the escape goes well for him. This is looking like it might clock in at a very 09, maybe a 110.
Yeah.
As he busts down the bridge, he's going to be approaching this 2D section now.
Hopefully he can get 2D skip.
Hopefully makes it a little bit smoother than Say was able to. Breaking the block, making the jumps across, and not hitting his head, making it look very, very clean. This is a very solid escape sequence for Zinpars here. No real issues at all. Now we just have to see how the pillar room will treat him. Those shots look pretty good.
Yeah. Should.
Might have missed the one, but he did fire an extra one as a precaution. I don't think he got the fast pillar, though.
I don't know.
Doesn't look like it, no. He's going to be sending another kind of errant shot, and actually did hit, it looked like. Yes, you do see the pillar breaking there, so with the kind of 360 no-scope strategy there, he is going to be breaking that first pillar a little bit faster. And going to be making his way onto this final platform, clocking in at a time of a very low 1 by the looks of it.
Looks like he's barely going to be missing that sub 110.
Unfortunately, it's so 110.04, the final time here, falling short for the victory in this one. And now, coming into the call with us here, we actually have Zinpars on the line. Zinpars, GG's, my friend. Unfortunate circumstances in some of the early game, it looks like.
Yep. Yeah, GG. Yeah, as I said, I've done a couple of no reset runs, so I'm used to having a lot of time loss, so I actually wasn't that tilted during this race. It was rather fun that it happened.
It probably tested your knowledge a little bit. I was very impressed with your ability to kind of improvise on the fly, knowing that if you're make the most, I suppose, right? And getting some of those Deep Woods moons while you were there.
Not sure if it was actually faster, but I was able to show off at least one bingo strat, even though it took me a few tries. But hey,
Yes.
I had fun.
Lots of pro-con strats as well. I do commend your
Joy-Con.
ability to play, or sorry, Joy-Con is right. I do commend your ability to play very creatively. We saw that in Bowser's Shards. We also did see you go for late clip, so
Yeah.
you know, very commendable strategies when it comes to those kinds of things. But unfortunately, just not being able to quite pull it out, especially with Wooded treating you the way that it did.
Yeah, it was not really my day just today, but that happens.
Yeah, these are the kinds of things that happen sometimes. Now joining us in the call, we have the victor of this match, swiftzeii, coming in with a 104. swiftzeii, how do you feel about this match?
It was pretty good. I was really nervous throughout the race. I did make a lot of mistakes, and I'm honestly quite surprised. This is a 104, but you know, I'm just glad things went right in the end of this race.
Yeah, a very solid showing. I mean, I can only recall a couple of tricks, nothing that cost you a substantial amount of time. So yeah, the 104 definitely deserved, and as well as the victory. Of course, Zinpars, you might be down, but you are not out. You will be participating in the losers bracket that is coming up, and you still have a fighting chance in this tournament. So with that,
Yeah.
we do have to transition into the next match. Thank you guys for the match. It was very entertaining, and we will see both of you guys in the future of this tournament.
All right.